that's a beauty.
Someone to hold me tight will be very nice. Someone to love me right will be very nice. Someone to understand me so genuinely. Someone to take my hand and be at peace with me. So nice. That would be so nice if one day we find someone who would take my hand, someone who might be someone to tenderly stay with me right or wrong.
Well, welcome back, viewers, and it's time for us to do what we do here at the James Kalm Report. We're going to go in and take a look at an exhibition here at the Museum of Modern Art, and we're all going to be guests of Cindy Sherman. Also, we're here up in the atrium getting ready for the statements. Oh, and there's Glen Lowery getting mic'd up. Well, we'll start over here on the south end of the galleries. Well, I think you could probably make a pretty good point that Cindy Sherman is perhaps one of the most successful, most recognized American artists, and she's certainly probably the most established and lauded photographer. This is an interesting piece. And in a certain way, this kind of gets at what Cindy's been doing for her entire career, which is taking on these personas. It shows the whole progression of her makeup. Starts out with a pretty kind of boyish-looking girl, and then ends up with the tart. That was Untitled from 1975. This is a piece that's almost 10 years later. This is 1983. And most of these pieces are untitled. This is number 131. Cindy was very lucky. She sort of came along during a period when there was a group of critics around October magazine like Rosalind Krauss and Douglas Crimp that were on an anti-painting jihad. This is a series called the Untitled Film Stills, which is about the time I became acquainted with their work, and I actually like these.
Is there a single body of work that stands out for you as the most resonant and important, and why?
You know, I have every body of work for one reason or another, I think, has its importance. But I do think it comes back to, in many ways, the Untitled Film Stills, her groundbreaking body of work made between 1977 and 1980, which we have presented here in its entirety, this kind of encyclopedic roster of female roles that are made familiar to us through film. And I'm going to age myself here, but Cindy started working on this series the year after I was born. So, you know, for me, I don't know a world without Cindy Sherman. And I think this particular series has really shaped the way that I think about the world, that I think about photography, the way that I think about art, but really more importantly, the way that I think about the roles of women.
Now, as I understand it, this series of Untitled Film Stills, I think, amounts to maybe 50 or 60 different photos. And I think MoMA bought a portfolio of the entire collection for about $1 million. Oh, that's a nice one. I think that the photographic aspect of her practice is only a small part of it. I think there's a whole aspect dealing with conceptualism and the idea of the image of women in society and the media. Take a look at a series of chromogenic prints from the mid-'80s. There's also a pathetic, tragic quality about a lot of the characters she represents. It's $2.99. And they make a point of saying that she also has been very influential within the fashion community, and she's probably reflected back a lot of ideas about fashion. I like this one. 122. It's also a large print. This is a very large piece. And it's on some kind of textured board, so it kind of gives you the feeling of a painting. This is Untitled number 512. Well, this is 458. I guess that Cindy actually went to school in Buffalo. I guess she was very influential in founding an exhibition space there called Hall Walls, along with Charles Clough and Robert Longo. And I understand that Cindy and Robert Longo were a couple for a couple of years when they moved to New York. And Cindy was very lucky. She came to New York about the same time as the Pictures Generation and the picture show that was curated by Douglas Crimp. And although she wasn't in that show, her aesthetic and her sensibility really aligned with that, and she became one of the, I would say, major artists of the Pictures Generation. Well, now here's a series of color photos that seem to take off on her Untitled film stills, but in these, I think she's projecting the backgrounds. This is Untitled 461. And it makes me think she was going to be performing at the Super Bowl halftime show. This is one of her more controversial series where her clown pieces and yeah, the Keen kids have got nothing on that. There's another clown. One of the things about the clown pieces is that she kind of went totally abstract with the backgrounds. Makes them look like color field paintings. Ooh, more clowns. Which is kind of a scary clown.
I think her work from the very beginning addressed issues of the nature of representation and the kind of slippery nature of identity. And you see this from the very earliest works, which are 1975. The very first work in the exhibition is, in fact, the work she made while she was a student at Buffalo. And what you see throughout the development of the career is how sophisticated and how complex she has addressed these issues. That it's not just about the malleability of identity, but really how photography is complicit in the manufacturing of identity today. And for me, her work today is more contemporary than ever. I think in a world of Facebook, of YouTube fame, of reality makeover TV shows, her work really speaks to the kind of anxiety of the status of the self, which I think is the hallmark of the late 20th and 21st centuries.
You know, we tend to think of Cindy's work as so visually gripping, and we often forget how dark the work can be, and how she addresses issues of sex and of kind of those disgusting moments that one can think of vomit, excrement. We'll talk a little bit about the 80s and how she got those photographs.
I actually think beneath the surface of almost all of her photographs is a darker reality that lurks underneath. And there's a kind of grotesque or abject quality to many of her pictures, even those that on the surface seem to be pretty. But certainly, starting in the mid-80s to about the mid-1990s, Cindy was really preoccupied with more grotesque narratives. And what you see in those bodies of work is she's removed herself from the picture. She's no longer the model, and instead she's using dolls and prosthetics as a kind of stand-in for her own body. And for me, these works are, on one hand, a reaction that the artist felt kind of sick of using herself. She's talked about that. But I think they're also reacting to, at the time, the specter of AIDS and the way in which the body might have been represented in that time. And also, it was during a time of a lot of debates of censorship in the arts. And I think this very kind of in-your-face depiction of sex, which in fact is very unerotic, and in a way quite clinical, really is addressing those issues of that day.
Well, this is quite an extensive installation here. These are all a series of portraits that she based on images from classic painting. I think this is from a Caravaggio. Madonna and Child. Is that a Raphael? Salome. This is a queen. I don't think that's a Madonna. It looks like a Boucher. Oh, that's a great nose. Looks like Goya. I think this is the first series that she started to portray herself as male characters. Oh, great nose. Oh, this is great, a double portrait. Now they kept coming up with the term a woman of a certain age. And I guess Cindy is probably a woman of a certain age now. Oh, here in the last gallery are her most recent works from the social portrait series. These are all fairly large, 8 feet tall, 5 feet wide. And certain ways, although they avoid a lot of the kind of excessive grotesque makeup and prosthetics and slime and things that she's used. They're even more poignant because they have these kind of very vulnerable, kind of fragile images of women of a certain age. And she's so good at these little details. This is James Kalm reporting on Cindy Sherman retrospective here at the Museum of Modern Art. It's 53rd Street. Thank you, Kate. What's your name?
Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
All